Allie Zendrian, founder of A to Z Communications, and this is the Brand Stories podcast. This is where we discuss everything related to branding. You're in for a real treat with this next podcast. We have Matt Halloran, co-founder of Proudmouth, on to discuss everything from how he helped to create Proudmouth's branding in 2017 to how he completed his first TED Talk, as well as his book, which all, again, part of branding. You might notice with this podcast, it starts a little differently than all the other ones, but completely on brand for Matt. I so love that. Is that how you start every podcast?
It really is. It's part of who I am, sister. That's just the way, that's what you get when you get me on the show. So
I freaking love it. Hi, I'm Allie Zendrian, not to be outdone by the fabulous Matt Halloran of Proudmouth. Oh my gosh, you are a gift.
I feel the same way about you. So if people aren't knowing how magnificent you are, I really hope they start paying attention because you got really cool things on the horizons.
Well, I love you too. Thank you. So as part of my Brand Stories podcast, where we discuss all things related to branding, which makes you the perfect guest to have on, my first question is, what is your favorite brand and why?
I'm going to give you two answers. So honestly, because I was so involved in branding Proudmouth, I'm really proud of what we've built from a branding perspective, but that seems wildly self-centered to say that that's my favorite brand. So I'm going to say that that's 1.5. My favorite brand is actually the Grateful Dead.
I like it. Wow. So what is it? Is it because of the experience they provide you, the level of music? What is it that attracts you to them so much?
So there's an unbelievable book called How to Market Like the Grateful Dead. And it was a game-changing book for me. And I brought it to Kirk, my business partner, because what they ended up doing is they went against everything in the record industry. They gave away everything for free, right? You could record every concert. People were trading cassette tapes. That's how long ago it was cassette tapes, right? You could film it. You could do whatever, because how they made their money was the concerts. They didn't even really make that much money on album sales. But the other really neat thing about the Grateful Dead brand is not just the experience, but the consistency of the brand over time. You see an imagery or a font, you know it's the Grateful Dead immediately. I mean, it's like Nike, Apple, Disney. They did such an amazing job with that. And they built a community. And so every great brand, as far as I'm concerned, and we'll use Apple as a comparative brand, right? With Apple, you know that somebody has an iPhone, you're kind of feel like you're part of that club. But the Grateful Dead was at a different level, right? I mean, you're in the parking lot. The parking lot of a Grateful Dead show was as interesting as the Grateful Dead show itself. And the opportunity that you had to just hang out with like-minded people who were wildly free-spirited, who believed in peace, love, and happiness, and just wanted to, make the world a better place. It probably didn't hurt that they were all really high, but it was just such an unbelievable experience. And when we built Proudmouth, we actually had that as part of our brand foundational, the exercises that we went through with the branding guy, because we wanted to give away everything. And we did 500 episodes of the Top Advisor Marketing Podcast. So, I mean, if you want to know what Proudmouth does and you want to know how to do what we do for our clients, it's already outlined there. Take you a little while to get through it. But the Grateful Dead did the same thing.
I love it. And since you said that, so it made me think, since they weren't making their money, like you were saying, off record sales or whatnot, it's too bad that they didn't make money off of concessions, because obviously with a high crowd that would have, but anyway.
Yeah.
If you could do it all over again, I guess.
Yes. Rewind it to 1967 or whenever they really first started. I think there's a lot of brands that could take some serious good marketing pages from, and by the way, that book is phenomenal. Because again, much like what we've done in financial service, we piss a lot of people off. I mean, we're totally contrarian. I'm not wearing suits and ties and all that. I'm wearing a ball cap. I got a big fuzzy beard, wearing custom Nikes, which now everybody seems to be doing, which is super cool that we're all just kind of leaning into our own stuff. But a lot of that really was the foundation of looking at great brands. And I think that's what great brands do, Allie. I think they find other brands that there's such a strong affinity for, and a good company will emulate the parts of that brand, not just the logo, but the language and the feeling and just the experience and all of those things that go into building a great brand.
Love it. Well, speak of, so how did you and Kirk go about creating the great brand that is known as Proudmouth?
So we hired a guy named Rob Howard, and you, just to be clear to all of your audience, you can't just call Rob Howard. He is invite only. Generally, you have to be directly introduced to him. Him and his partner wrote a book called Fix: How to Create a Cult-Like Brand. Kirk had actually met him at something called The Gathering, which is also an invite only thing in Canada. It's where all of the biggest branding and marketing people go. Land Rovers there, Apple's there, everybody's there. And it's like the people who work in the branding and all of the stuff. And Kirk really hit it off with Rob. So step number was we had to read the book, or he wouldn't really even talk to us. And so we read the book, and then we had to go back to him with notes on what we were really looking for. And then Allie, he assembled this team. This guy who wrote our brand manifesto, which is like 15 pages long, tells the story of Proudmouth, everything, feeling, looking, client experience, what our voice is, what our words are, all of those sorts of things. And then we brought in the guy who created the logo and the process. And Kirk's got all of this, which is so cool. But he's got all of the iterations from where we started to where we've ended up. And the big turning point for the logo was a brand called Stussy, which is a skateboard brand from my generation, right? I'm old. And there was a hand that had a mouth coming out of it. And it was like this very aggressive sort of thing. And then we were looking at the Rolling Stones and the Rocky Horror Picture Show. And all of a sudden this guy, and I don't know how they do that, Allie. That's a skill set I don't have. Hey, make it 20% warmer. And it comes back freaking 20% warmer. But it's really allowed us guardrails to make sure that we're staying really true to the brand. I mean, I'm going to digress for a moment. So I was on a conference call with 4 of the people that I did the TED Talk with. I just got done with the TED Talk in the UK a little while ago, which is just an unbelievable experience. And so when you have intense emotional experiences with people, you generally create a bond. And well, Ted's freaking intense, right? And so a lot of us had traveled from all over the world to go hang out there in Swansea. And we were talking this morning, and one of the ladies who is a PhD in repurposing, I'm not going to do this justice, which really sucks. Anyway, she basically takes recycled glass and turns it not just into art, but like structural architectural components. She's a genius. I mean, just her ability to, and she was talking about how through some other coaching that some of us did with her, that now she's got her tagline. This is who I am. This is what I do. This is why I do it. Here, when you have that in a good brand, you just find the opportunities to pull it out. And then people are like, wow, that's impactful and super, super important. And I think people think a brand is just a pretty logo and a tagline, and that is just scratching the surface of the iceberg.
Heck yeah. Exclamation point to that point. Absolutely. So I will get back to your TED Talk in a hot second, I promise. But for those who may not be familiar, and if you're not familiar, I don't really know what to say to you. What does Proudmouth do, and why do you do it so well?
Our ultimate focus is to help experts rise above the noise to be their own loud. And so our format is very specific, where we're just basically helping you stop being the best kept secret in your area. How do you do that? We do it through podcasting, video, social media marketing. We have a whole onboarding branding system where we're going to help you create an entire brand for your show, including value prop, language, all of those things. That's actually a newer feature of what we're doing now with our new team. We've got social media strategists that help you figure out what the content that you should be creating to talk to your ideal target market. And we really function the best within advisors, pretty much exclusively, who have niches.
Okay.
Right. And let me expand that. If you are an expert, right, and you sell your expertise for a living, which is what financial services professionals do, CPAs do, divorce attorneys do, CPU, me, consultants, and you're just tired of being the best kept secret around because people don't know who you are and why they should hire you. And if you have a niche focus, then we are a perfect solution for you.
Love it. For anybody who hasn't done a podcast, how would you explain to them the power that it offers them and why it is such a good vehicle to get your name and your brand awareness out there, as opposed to, obviously, people can do social media ads. You can work with me, you can do whatever. But I mean, podcasting honestly is a fabulous way to grow an audience and to become a thought leader.
When we first started in 2017, when we were talking with our initial advisors and initial prospective clients, I had to explain to them what podcasting was. And so I used to say it's portable radio. And people, what do you mean by that? I was like, well, it's portable and convenient radio. Instead of me having to be there at Saturday morning at 11 a.m. to listen to your show, it is all the time, always on, available. And that was just a huge shift. People are like, oh my God, that makes a lot of sense. Everybody listens to podcasts, Sally. I mean, that's just the thing. Right? And there were some crazy stats that came out. Oh, so one of the things that I'm sure that there are people who are already asking themselves this question is there are too many podcasts out there, right? And the answer, I just throw the bullshit flag on that. I'm sorry, it's not true. No. Because and my partner just came up with this thing, and this was a study that had recently came out. 44% of podcasts have less than 3 episodes. Only 17 have more than 10 episodes. 90% of that remaining 10% don't make it past 20 episodes. And if you have 21 episodes or more, you're in the top 1%. And so here's the power of podcasting. Number one, it's you distilling your thought leadership in a long form content. But if you do it correctly, then what you're able to do is you're able to go ahead and chop it up into a whole bunch of other pieces. So full audio, full video is what we 100% recommend, because people watch more podcasts than they listen. YouTube is the number one podcast player, which surprises people. It's not Spotify. More people find podcasts on YouTube than they do anywhere else. The second is a friend tells them, which I think is a very powerful thing. But what it is it's always on thought leadership. And every episode you get in the can, you are that much more credible than anybody else who's not creating this content. I think Kitsis might have said this, or it was Carl Richards, I can't remember. Advisor's primary job now is being a content creator. It's not just being an advisor. And so since there's so much unbelievable misinformation out there, it is your job as a professional to get in front of that and to negate all of the really bad advice that's out there by providing really good advice. And that doesn't matter if you're a financial advisor or an estate planning attorney or a CPA or a business consultant, a branding consultant, a PR agent, whatever. If you sell your expertise, there's a lot of people out there saying stupid stuff. And as a professional, it's my job to do what I can to combat that. And that's one of the other big powers of podcasting.
Agreed. So for those who might say to themselves, there's got to be like an app, or I can give it to my kid and they can figure it out, whatever it is. Why do I really have to pay somebody to do a podcast for me? How would you, I presume, throw down the BS flag on that one too?
Well, I mean, you can absolutely flip and do it. I mean, you can. In fact, we have an entire academy that'll teach you how to do everything you could ever want to know about how to start a podcast. It's just, you have to ask your question, is it a good use of your time? If you have a whole bunch of time and you love the techie stuff, great, go for it. It's really not rocket science. It's just time consuming. I mean, just in order to do your post-production and then create all of the assets surrounding the post-production, promoting your show, it really is a lot of work. And a lot of people go into it too without a plan, which is why so many people fail, Allie. Before you ever hit record with us, you know what your next 12 episodes are going to be. Because we know that there's these humps. I know that if I can get you past 12 episodes, the probability of you doing 100 is exponentially greater. But you can totally do it on your own. I mean, Riverside.fm, which is where we're recording today, is a magnificent tool. Not great in post-production, but is a magnificent tool, because when we get done with this podcast, it's going to say, hey, Allie, here's 5 clips. Perfect. It'll give you the transcript, which some of you need to submit for compliance or to help write a blog post or your social media and that sort of stuff. And so you can totally do it yourself. As a person who did, so when Kirk and I started the company, I did all the interviews, I did all the post-production.
Wow.
And I'm very, very good at it. In fact, just not to brag, but I've been doing this so long that we actually used a razor blade and Scotch tape with actual tapes. That's how I started learning how to edit in high school. Because we had a reel to reel. It was horrible. It was horrible. But now it's the same thing with the computer. I'm just literally cutting it and taping it back together. But the other thing that you really want to keep in mind too is you can be saying the smartest stuff in the whole wide world, but if you sound like shit, nobody's going to listen. If you look like shit, nobody's going to listen. And so it is a show, and it's important to keep that in mind, that we have the perfect content formula: storytelling, education, entertainment, call to action. You need to have those entertainment components, that, educational component, and making sure that you're telling good stories. If you do that, then people are going to listen.
Absolutely. And to your point, so it's among the reasons I'll tell a client, unfortunately, it does matter what you look like if you go on TV. If you've got that shirt that everybody's looking at the shirt and they're not looking at your face, I'll be honest, I've done that a few times on this podcast, but
Sure.
I've been sort of aware of it. But anyway, so you mentioned your academy. So if one wanted to participate in your academy, what would they learn and how do they go about getting into it?
Well, you learn everything, right? And so that's our philosophy here at Proudmouth is very specific, that we're going to let you know everything that we know. We used to do it for 100% free. And again, you can distill 500 episodes into AI and figure out what we do, or you can spend $99 a month to get, 35 courses, 8 hours of live coaching per month. But the really cool thing is, and in fact, you're hopefully going to be taking this soon, is we have something called the Influence Readiness Test, which will tell you how you score on really where you fit in what we call the trust economy. And so all of us who are experts are just trying to be able to scale trust, so that when people call up Allie and they're like, you're the best PR person I've ever met, I've been following you forever, I love your stuff, I'm ready to go. That's what we all want. And just to be clear, that actually happens pretty regularly when you have really, really great thought leadership. But the problem is, if you don't know where you sit on our influence continuum and you don't know where your gaps are, a lot of us are just throwing stuff up against the wall. We build you a tailored plan from the Influence Readiness Test to make it so that you'll know exactly what your gaps are and how to solve them. And all of that is only $100 a month. You can give it to your assistant, who, by the way, a lot of you are like, hey, I need you to do marketing. And your assistant's like, okay, I don't know how to market, but so we actually can teach them how to do it. If you're a solo expert and you just want to really know what the best practices are, we walk you through everything. How to build a show, build video, even advisory boards if you want to meet with your best clients and get more referrals. We've got a whole referral course in there. And so there's lots and lots of stuff in there for just about anybody.
Love it. So I promised that I would get back to your TED Talk. I happen to know what the topic was, but for those of us who weren't fortunate enough to know that, what did you discuss and how did you change the world?
Yeah, well, changing the world is the goal, right? It was just an utterly fascinating process, because I actually pitched 2 other topics before we landed on the one that I ended up doing. First off, I was going to talk about listening, because I have a book called Shut the F Up and Listen. And they're like, Matt, there's like 900 podcasts on listen or TED Talks on listening. We don't want you to do something that everybody else has done. I was like, I was really hoping to, because I really want people to learn how to listen. And then the second was the power of podcasting. And they're like, no, that's not going to happen. It's going to sound like a commercial. And I was like, damn, all right. What? And then I had this idea, and it started off as the Ripple movement. And then it became Hope, which is help one person every day. Starting at the top of the show, I talked about my favorite brand being the Grateful Dead. I have not lost that. So I am a absolute peace, love, and happiness. I tell everybody I love them because I actually do. I hug random people who need it. And I try to do whatever I can to be kind in every situation. In fact, by the way, that's one of the core value at Proudmouth is kindness. And so all of this stuff is really starting to work together. But there are 3 types of hope. You can say something, you can do something, or you can just be present. My TED Talk's very simple, very clean. It's about 12-ish minutes, and hopefully will be coming out in August is what we're hoping for. But yeah, fingers crossed, sister. But the whole experience was phenomenal. In fact, when we were having the conference call today, some of us were we were all in agreement, like, why were we there? So there's one guy who ran 2 Antarctic marathons, which I guess is a thing. I didn't know that was a thing. Another guy who rowed a boat across the Pacific Ocean, a woman who overcame anorexia nervosa, a TV reality star. I mean, it was like all of this stuff. And we're all just like, hey, I'm just this guy from Kalamazoo, Michigan who wants to talk about loving people. It was an unbelievable experience. It was like almost like a bucket list thing for me, Allie, and something I really wanted to do. I wanted to do it so that if I ever have grandchildren, or people might maybe just think that their crazy Uncle Matt or Grandpa Matt was somebody who really wanted to make the world a better place. And I do firmly believe that if everybody just chooses one of those 3 types of hope every day, that we can fundamentally change the world.
Well, which is why I'm confident if anyone can change the world, it is you, Matt Halloran.
Thank you for
I'm
that.
putting all my chips on you. Getting back to your book, Shut the F Up and Listen. If you haven't read it yet, you're doing yourself a disservice. You should go get that now. It's on Amazon and anywhere else that you can get a book. Also, a pleasure to read, not terribly long, so really not asking a lot. I cite your example of going to the baseball stadium and the fireworks, and I'm not giving too much away because I would like all of you to read it or listen to it if you want to do audiobook, as among the reasons why we need to pay attention to people's cues and understand the importance of really being there with a person and letting them be who they are. So if you want to just either discuss that a little bit more or discuss
Yeah.
why we as humans are so screwed up at listening.
I think everybody talks at people. And I think part of it is that I think people are lonely. And I'm not talking about the male loneliness epidemic that everybody's talking about right now. That is a part of it, which is mostly self-created. But I think people just feel disconnected. And so, and that's a massive passion project of mine. I'm always looking for ways to make a connection. And in that story, which by the way was in the TED Talk too, was that we had tried everything with this kid and nothing worked. He just needed to have somebody who was going to be there, that was safe, that would allow him to experience something he never experienced before. We all have those opportunities all the time. And we just walk by, or we choose not to. Or I was at the credit union today. I had to move some money around because Lord knows that's just the way my life is right now. And this guy was trying to get into the building in a walker, and nobody was helping him. And I'm like, well, I gave up my spot in line, walked out, opened the door for the guy. And here's the thing, he didn't even say thank you. That's fine, because not to be a jerk, I didn't do it for him. It's because I did something nice for somebody, because nice is what you're supposed to do, right? I don't need his accolades. I didn't need anybody else saying, wow, that was a really nice thing to do, because that's that ripple. That's one person doing something kind for somebody else. And that story specifically about the ballpark was so impactful, not just for him, but for me, because I had such a major epiphany that a lot of times what somebody needs is for you to shut the F up and just be present, to just be there. It's an open vessel with no judgments, no agendas, and just truly try to be present for somebody. And I think listening is the key, because it's a discipline that is very other centered. And I think we're just so damn self-centered, Allie, that when you learn truly how to listen, you just realize that, one, you don't know shit about anything. And secondly, that anybody can just change your life with just a few words.
Yeah. And I feel like that's a very powerful piece of advice, especially for financial advisors, because there are times that you need someone to say, you're about to get divorced. This is what you have to do. This is the order that you need to do it. This is who you have to contact. And then there are other times that you just need somebody to say, you know what? I am just freaking overwhelmed. I'm about to get divorced and I am a mess. And hopefully that's okay too. But that's also a skill. It's not a normal thing for a financial advisor to do necessarily.
Well, no, they're problem solvers, right? And so they think that everybody's coming to them to solve all of their problems. And so as a recovering therapist, motivational interviewing in the stages of change model were things that we really studied great depth. And what I found in sales and in my professional life is, you know, the answer to your problem, man. You just might need somebody to just listen so that you can hear yourself process. In fact, one of the best pieces of marriage advice I ever got was, ask your wife if she just needs to talk about it, or if she wants you to solve the problem. And I'm telling you, that has stopped arguments, misunderstandings, unclear expectations. And I'll say that to my wife. She'll get into something. Now, because we've been together so long, she's like, nope, just want you to listen. Hey, listen, that's so wonderful for me, because I just get to sit back and I talk about this a lot in the book, but I am actively trying to absorb every word, every facial expression, every nonverbal that she's having, because she feels that, people feel that connection, Allie. When you're making real eye contact and you're leaning in and you are really, truly, authentically listening, not active listening, engaged listening, everything changes. All of your relationships, your kids, your spouse, your friends, your coworkers, it's unbelievable what happens.
Absolutely. I feel bad. I wish that I could have you on for like 5 more hours because we could really help save the world. So if you ever want to come back, let's do that. But
Sure.
for anybody who's listening to this and says, you know what, either I need to do a podcast, or B, let's be honest, my brand stinks. I got to do something about it. What would your advice to them be?
I mean, I'd probably have them talk to you also, right? Because I think that your brand work and how you work, your brain works in that creative level, but also a practical level is very, very powerful. If you can't afford Hallie, we actually have a whole section in the PodRocket Influence Academy. It's all on branding. There's actually 3 courses in there. One of them is the Brand Basics. It's a 101 level course, and it just gets your mind primed to ask the right questions. And I think it's a super cheap resource. If it's the same sort of thing, but if you just want to chat, like if you want somebody to take a look at your stuff and give you an opinion based off of 10,000 podcast episodes and over 150,000 social media posts that we've done here at Proudmouth, I'll just give you the link. They can schedule time on my calendar. It's a free strategy session. It is not a sales call. I do want to preface, and I say this on every one of these. Okay, you came to this call looking for advice for strategy. I'm probably going to tell you things that might sting a little bit, but listen, nobody else is doing this, obviously, because you're making these mistakes. Yeah. So do not set time on my calendar unless you really want an authentic viewpoint on the content creation that you're doing in any way, shape, or form. And I'm just going to take a page from something I learned from you. Podcasting and branding, social media content, all of that stuff is really, really important. But if you don't have a strategy to get your voice out to much greater audiences, that's when you really need PR. So when you're looking at the power of PR, which, by the way, I built the majority of my career on the principles that I've learned from you, Allie, from other friends of mine in PR, there's so many powerful things that you need. So that needs to be part of your budget. That needs to be part of your branding. That needs to be part of your awareness campaigns, because a couple of well-placed interviews that you can repurpose can change everything for you and your business.
That was very kind of you to say. Thank you for all that. I don't know if you saw me shrinking back a little bit, but the fact that you have learned something from me, I may as well just go now, except that both of my children need me and I can't do that. But thank you. I really appreciate that. But just to dispel something that you had said, and I think that you know this too, my feeling is, yes, a lot of PR is very expensive. You can hear these retainers and you're like, in my wildest dreams, that will never, ever happen. And so then what am I supposed to do about it? If you do enough of your research, you will find the people who will work with you at different kinds of rates or make exchanges or whatnot and make it work for you. So if that is what you're looking for, please do that. But anyway, Matt, you are fabulous, and please keep doing your great work changing the world.
Thanks.